how to have more social touch in your daily life, more normalized, very important topic that not a lot of people will talk about, not a lot of people will search, something you may not have thought of and thought that you needed, but something that might actually change your life. Welcome in. Much love, Trav here, and this goes out especially to the men because, and first of all, and it's for the women too, but especially for the men because of the way society is, which we'll talk about in a moment, but just the science, you should know that especially as we're developing, we're young, if a child is not touched, they don't develop, they're gonna shrivel, they're gonna die, something like that. If a child is touched, then they'll develop and they'll grow normally. The child may not die, but they have certain problems, certain issues, and if that's you, it's always possible to change things and to grow out of scars. Most of us have scars from our early development. Well, my parents, that doesn't mean that life was perfect, doesn't mean life should be perfect either. There should be a struggle and there should be a challenge as well. And I can't really remember back, but I feel like I got reasonable touch. But as we grow, that changes, especially for men in the white world, the Anglo-Protestant world. Even if you're in Asian community or black community or whatever, you kind of inherited this a Protestant low touch culture, which is actually objectively true. We know that Latin cultures have more touch. Equatorial cultures tend to have more touch. Socially, there's more kisses, there's more hugs, there's more static touch, standing touch. They've measured, you look at a coffee date in Paris and there's 117 instances of touch in an hour, whereas in America you have a handshake at the beginning and a hug at the end. You know, it's a real issue that not a lot of people will talk about, and it's especially an issue for men because the way that this culture has gone, especially with Hollywood and so on in the popular culture, is sex for a man has become highly sexualized. Not in all cases, but as a general, yeah, it's true. So if you're very touchy with your guy friends, people think that's gay. If you're very touchy with your female friends, they think that you think that this means something. Like if a girl's real touchy with you, you think, okay, we're gonna have sex, right? When that's not, that sort of thinking and culture leads to just not getting touch except from potentially like one person, which is not the fix. And I want to address that. It's like, I got plenty of touch from my wife, I got plenty of touch from my husband, social touch, that's fine, and that's good, but it's a little bit, and it's fine if that can work for you. But my warning, and this is for myself also, as we walk into the wind here, is relying on one person for all your needs for something is a little bit risky, because it gives them a lot of power over you. They can withhold from you, or they might leave, you might want to leave. It just doesn't make sense to have something like your social touch totally dominated by one person. Then they might not have the need to the same extent. You might not have the need to the same extent. They might be getting that from other places, especially women. Women have a lot more touch with kids and with other women than men do with men and women. So that's why I'm focusing this on the men here. So how do you have more, and how can it be more normalized, and how can it be more? So, well, first of all, I'm gonna throw out a lot of ideas here, things that are gonna be helpful, and this is from my experience of becoming aware of this issue, especially as I traveled and spent some time in the Latin world. And the first thing I would say is you can be a lot touchier than you think you can without it being weird or abnormal. So if you want to touch, and then you can let yourself pat someone on the shoulder, squeeze someone, give someone a hug. It's going to be more awkward and uncomfortable and less satisfying to not do that. If stuff is uncomfortable, a lot of the time, a high five, any kind of social touch will actually normalize it, because that's just how the brain is wired. Our culture has gotten kind of fucked up. That happens sometimes. Just contagious epidemics of behavior. So the first thing is, like, you can extend the boundaries a lot more than you think. And you'll see this in the Latin world, where you meet someone, okay, we're gonna kiss each other on the cheek, right? That can be normal, right? And once you see that, and once you internalize that and think that, like, you can do that anywhere in the world, and it won't, you think it would be weird, it won't be. Trust me on that one. Okay. And I mean, in France even, the men will do it, right? I've done that. We'll go into the wind and then we'll turn around. The audio quality will be better once we turn around. Okay, so there's one idea, and obviously a sub idea of that is go travel Latin world. But I know you can make that a goal. That's not necessarily an option. Live in a Latin household, you get hosted. This may not be an option for many of you, but I think it's good. Okay. So the next thing is, you can build it into your life in activities that will normalize it. So there's certain activities that you have where it's normalized to not touch, and there's certain activities that you have that's normalized to touch. So first, let's talk about sports. Sports is an example of an activity that really normalizes touch and has a lot of it, depending on the sport. And there's a reason why so many boys and men flock to it, like pickup basketball, right? I'm not there to, like, get a hug from this random dude, but we are there for the touch, to push around and jostle bodies and so on. So there's basketball, there's wrestling, and we'll get into various activities. There's, there's acro yoga. There's certain ones where there's just not going to be much touch, like individual yoga, or it's not built in, or tennis, swimming. So if you can do pickup basketball, you can do wrestling, and I've been doing both these things, martial arts, then not only are you getting more of your need just for human contact, because we're very social creatures, just through sports and activities, it also normalizes it in our brain, so that it makes it easier and more comfortable to do outside of those sports and in various social activities, right? Like, you go to a wrestling class and you wrestle with people, and okay, you're getting some of your actual physiological need, but once you're done with that, you go off with your friends or whatever, go home to your family, and we'll talk about that as well. You've normalized it, so you can do it, right? More so. So there's a lot of sports for that, but I highly recommend working something like that into your week. If you don't have any, pick something that is kind of reasonable for you. There's a lot of options. Another one is going dancing, or if you're not good at, or rather you want to learn, go to dance classes. That will normalize it as well. Go around and dance with everyone and get more touch. And also, the goal is not necessarily just to have these as your sole sources as a man, obviously, but to normalize it more so that you can take that to your relationships with men and women outside of it, and with your family, like, fucking give your friends a hug, kiss your family in the morning. Why not, right? Normalize that shit. Make it normal, right? You'll grow. The hormones in your brain will change. Yeah. So, what else? I feel like that's good. I mean, you just need a strategy to make it more normal. If it's abnormal, it's just fighting against this culture, which is why, like, it helps to leave and come back, so you can kind of see the matrix here. Again, for some of you, I'm really coming from the male perspective, because I know there's a lot of men out there who you get no touch except for your romantic relationships with women, and maybe you don't even have that for periods of time, and no one's touching you. You're not touching anyone. Your boulder is at the sitting statically, inertia, in a fucking valley, and you need to start moving it up. So rather than just going to dating or online dating and thinking this is going to be my sole source, you can also go to like program into your week various physical activities where you're going to be doing teamwork and jostling bodies with people, because you can take that to your house, your friends, take that into your dates or into your family, your other or your kids, whatever, and then it'll become more automatic and more normal. And I think that's how we'll change culture eventually, because the ramifications of this, I believe, are perhaps the death of this culture. I mean, you look at, and leave a comment if you made it to the little political discussion here at the end. You know that basically this Anglo culture is dying out. It's below replacement. You look at the white people in Europe and white people in the US, it's like 1.7 reproduction per person. It needs to be over 2 to continue. The US is only above replacement because of immigrants and because of Hispanic culture. Hispanics, or Latin culture rather. There's more Mexican, etc. Latins having more babies because there's more touch, it's more normalized. So this shit will die out and be replaced. And I'd rather be on the frontier of pushing things forward to where they seem to be trending and naturally will be, rather than in the back. But I mean, we always want to change ourselves before changing culture. We have to change ourselves to change culture. So the thing is, I just want to have a better life, right? We all want to have better lives. You want to have a better life. And one of that is having all the right hormone balances and so on. Part of that is just having fucking good touch in a variety of circumstances with the variety of people, right? We're humans. That's what we're meant to do. That's the way we're wired. We're not, I mean, most animals are like that, right? So you have to recognize. So here's the question. For me, what can I do better? Well, I already told you a lot of my strategy. Spend more time in the Latin world. I have a bunch of physical activities with other people built into my week. And my instinct is to touch people, knowing when it's appropriate, but knowing that most people don't want and don't mind. You know, ask me to take a picture, I'll always put my arm around you, right? Pose for the picture. So I already told you my plan. You can tell me your plan, where you're at. Love to hear the male and the female perspective on this. So you leave a comment down below. And you know, what are your needs? Some people just don't need it as much or don't think they need it as much. Some people need it a lot more. Some people are scarred from early childhood, and that's okay too, you know. I think the key is awareness, knowing where you're at, knowing where you need to be, and starting to move in that direction. So how are you going to move in that direction? Please leave a comment down below. I would love to hear, and we'll speak soon. So much love, and next person you see that you know, go give them a hug. Do it. Give them a kiss on the cheek too, see what happens. They might like that a lot, right? If it's somebody close to you. So, peace out. Oh, also, yeah, if you live in the Latin world, I'd love to hear your perspective. If you travel to the US and Canada, Sweden and England and stuff like that, what your perspective is on that. So, hope you find that useful. Much love, and speak soon.